Her story deals with a subculture of heavy metal music that some feel is sending a dangerous message to your kids.
The forces of evil on the dark side of devil rock.
And I want to talk tonight about the devil and demons and witches and wizards.
And we just mix it up with hardcore and aggression and come out with something we think's an original sound.
Loud, fast, heavy, you know.
Well, what do you got?
What do you got?
Welcome back to another episode of the Riff Worship Podcast. Joined with you as always are by two brethren in this extreme metal, hardcore, noise, drone, whatever you want to call it, world of music. Justin Swindle, Austin Paulson. How you guys doing?
Great. We've just been sitting here since the last one. We've been waiting for you. He's back.
You didn't get horsed to death.
No. The Chahi's birthday is still going on. It's a month-long celebration. Nothing bad yet. But there's still many to come. So who's to know?
You weren't killed in a Ben-Hur like accident like I suggested on the last episode, unfortunately.
This will be more of an Animal House situation with me.
Also, part of our joke was that we are very ambiguous with what you do with horses.
Of course.
And you've continued that joke. Like no one, anyone that's listening only knows your job involves something with horses
at some point.
It's very vague. And how you were killed by them, we couldn't tell the people.
There are two levels to this. You know, it could be as simple as he feeds horses, like, gentle bald man feeds horse. Or it could be Chris Pontius and Jackass 2. Like, there's no in between. It's either or.
They like the top of your head. It's kind of like a salt lick.
It's like a salt lick. Just the eyes just going off in different directions, just licking the top of my head. That's it. So how you guys been?
Pretty good. Last time we were on, I saw I Hate God and Crowbar.
Oof.
Still got it.
Never a bad time.
They still got it.
Sitting on stage with a plastic bag full of tall boys, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Bless his heart.
He had like 16 ounce or like, I forget if they were silver bullets, but he just came out on stage with the shopping bag. And of course he's like, he's got some back problems right now. So he's, kind of sitting through a set, but he just popped it down on an end table right next to him and started cracking him open.
Carrying all those goddamn riffs for so long, his back's fucked up.
Dan from Selenoplexia sent me the same joke, and I said he could have been like laying down in his pajamas, and people still would have been hitting each other over that shit. Like, it was so good. It was great. And then I haven't seen I Hate God in like 10 years.
Yeah,
and those are some like fun, goofy old men just playing the like evilest shit ever.
It is funny, like, those two bands don't tour more often now, because it's now kind of like the retirement center, like the fun one where it's just all the old gnarly NOLA dudes just hanging out, like swapping stories.
They played 2 shows that day. They played a matinee and the show I went to, and I think several dates on the tour are like that, but they sold out both shows. So
that's
like
crazy.
People showed up, probably a couple of people your age were there watching the matinee show. And then I got to go to the later show, because my bedtime's not till like 11 now.
Wow, Dylan, you caught the strays that time for being old, not me.
I caught the strays that time. Here's what's funny though. Everybody in both those bands, by the time they got to that second set, were just like me. They're like, fuck, we did this once before. Why did we sign up? Why did we sign up for this shit? And someone asked Kirk, hey, you all right, man? Tall boys. Sack of them. And that guy got there right before the show started, or right before the set started, like, we couldn't get him out. Bag's fine. Set him down. Let's do this. Bag's fine.
I wonder if he killed a bag of tall boys for his first set.
Oh, fuck. He was sitting down, so you couldn't tell, right? Like, it's all right. When you stand up, it's over.
Whoa.
Oh.
How are you, Swindle?
I'm doing good. What do you think? Do you remember one of the parties for the place we used to work at together, where every time you picked up the guitar, you played the same Ramones song over and over again?
Well, it was a Christmas party. It was the first Christmas party we went to, and it had gotten away from me to the point where like everybody was passing around our friend's guitar, and it got to me and I was like, I had forgotten everything I had learned about the guitar. Like, oh, actually, maybe I've gotten a little carried away. I was like, what do I know? Quick, I'm like under pressure. Blitzkrieg bop, baby. Let's do it.
Do you think it's like that for Kirk ever? He's just like, oh boy, I gotta fucking play Sheena's punk rocker.
God.
What's that trouble song again?
Oh my God. Fast way right now. All right, let's do this. Well, good to know that. It's good to know that. Nola's still strong. Somehow it's still tied in with every single one of us here. All 47 of us that I'm looking at right now. Riffs, what we're here for. I picked a weird one, I think. Not typical. I think most people would assume I would pick an album from an earlier era of this band. What band am I talking about? That is Sepultura. I did not pick a Max Cavalera album for this go around. I think we all know, or maybe Austin and I know more so than Swindle on this one. I'm not sure with Swindle what your familiarity is with Sepultura, other than maybe us kind of talking about it throughout the years.
Not much.
Everyone's familiar with the Max catalog. That's the classic catalog, but I do think there's some good albums once Derrick Green joined the band. And this one in particular is a stellar record. I bought this just purely off of Sepultura's got a new record out. The cover looks cool. I'm buying it. Knew nothing of it. It was album was released in 2006, and I am talking about the album Dante 21, which I did not know. Like, I knew it was Roman numerals for 21. I just never understood what the 21 meant until we started doing research for this. But Dante 21, it is based off of Dante Alighieri? Sure. Divine Comedy. But this album is from the Derrick Green era. It's the band's 10th album, and it's a pretty bonkers album. It's a soundtrack. It's heavy. It's fast. It's aggressive. It's also the last album to have a Cavalera on it. And it's just always stuck with me. It's probably the band's shortest record, I think. And it's just fucking cool. I think it's got a lot of moods. It's got a lot of like textures to it, different sounds, but it's also got everything that the band is known for, which is their blending of death metal, thrash, some hardcore punk in there. And there's even some like sludge elements on this one and all these industrial elements and orchestral instruments. And it's just fucking cool. But let me ask you guys, in which I think I know the answer. Have you guys listened to this album before?
No.
At all?
This is my first Derrick Green record ever, which I don't know if there was any particular it's not like I'm like, oh,
right,
no Max, no Sepultura, blah, blah, blah. Like, I just never really got around to this era of the band. I'm glad I'm getting into it now because it is a really great record. Like you said, I mean, there's not a ton of like, I mean, the longest song I think is like 4.5 minutes. So we're really like kind of cooking through it, but it doesn't feel rushed. Like everything feels like it should be there. I'm sure we'll get into it when we like dive into the album. I can't say that I'd really get rid of any of these tracks. I feel like it is a really great listen from start to finish. The orchestral pieces sound amazing, and I think that has a lot to do with maybe the guy who was behind the board. I'll definitely touch on that later, but I don't know. It's like a really great continuation of like where they might have left off when Max left. I think they clearly kept, kind of pushing in that direction, and Derrick is an amazing vocalist. He is no slouch. So make a long answer short. No, I have never listened to this record. Glad we're getting into it today.
Dylan, from Dante 1 to Dante 20, what's your favorite?
Okay, so I have attempted to read the Divine Comedy probably 5 or 6 times throughout the years, and unbeknownst to me that you could get copies of it that were translated or interpreted for modern English or modern times, which I've just recently done. Like, I need to grab a copy of that, but I know the gist of it, so I will say 6 is my favorite. It's yeah, I've always been interested in reading it because the whole concept of it's really cool. All the lore behind it, all the imagery behind it's always been really great. I mean, it's a descent into hell and then the ascent out of it, basically. And this album sounds that way. It purely sounds like there is some stuff on this record that sounds like your head is swirling, and production and everything. It's fucking great. So funnily enough, in preparing for this, my girlfriend and I had talked about watching The House That Jack Built for quite some time. And we finally sat down with it and we watched it. I went, wait a minute. Just kept like catching everything. Went, son of a bitch. Perfect timing. Like, it's an interpretation of the Divine Comedy itself. Like, all right, fuck. This is all hitting me really hard, really fast.
Good thing Lars von Trier doesn't put any violence against women in any
No,
of his movies.
nah, not at all.
I just
Not a single bit.
Good thing none of them are way too long either.
You know, this one didn't feel as long. I mean, yeah, when you look at the time run of it, it's like, it's 2.5 hours long. Fuck.
Mm-hmm.
The sun was up when we started watching this.
See, I just played the video game. I played the Dante.
That's right.
Get that reading shit out of here.
Yeah, there's the ding dong room in that one.
The ding dong room. I've been to the ding dong room a few times.
Oh yeah.
Skip over that.
Yeah.
Isn't
we're cut that out.
That's the room that you sleep in, right? The ding dong room.
Oh my God. Off the rails completely. Went from Dante's Inferno to ding dong jokes.
I had a cool Nirvana shirt from Hot Topic that had the levels of hell on it.
Oh, did it?
Yeah.
Killer. Had there's 36 levels now, right? That's what Wu-Tang said.
Yeah.
I mean, not the first band, surely, or the last to make some sort of like reference or their own type of like sonic interpretation of that subject matter, but it's a really good take on it. It's a really, certainly is effective as fuck. So
yeah, I mean, it's all there. Like lyrically, it's there. You can hear it. Derrick's really clear. He enunciates very well, which we will definitely get into that. But I thought this was a really great representation, and it actually feels like a soundtrack, which when I was younger, I just thought it was a great record, a really cool record that was influenced by the book. I didn't realize the band had put the effort in to go, we want to write a soundtrack for this, and did the research and everything. And it's great. The production is raw shit. There's like weird stuff all over it that if it was in like a Pro Tools editing situation, like stuff would be trimmed off. Like the drums are peaking. Like you can hear the drums pushing the mics really hard. There's distortion on them. It's fucking great. This sounds really fucking gnarly. So where do we want to start on the Sepultura journey? Because we're at album number 10 here. Why don't we do this? For those in the know, and those that may not know, Sepultura started in 1984, formed in Belo Horizonte. Did I get that right?
Hell,
I
sure.
did.
I don't know.
Yeah, formed in Belo Horizonte, Brazil, by brothers Max and Igor Cavalera. The band went through a few different lineup changes in this early period, released an EP, released an album, and then enter 1987, you solidify the classic lineup with Andreas Kisser, who was Max's guitar tech for a while, joining the band, and they write the album Schizophrenia, which gets them the eyes and the ears of Roadrunner Records, I think known as Road Racer at this point in time. Basically getting the eyes and ears to the point that Roadrunner became the American distributor of the Schizophrenia album. and that thus signing the band to Roadrunner Records. Schizophrenia, Austin, are you familiar with that record at all? Because I didn't become familiar with it, honestly, till a few years ago.
I listened to it a little bit when I was growing up. I definitely like huge into like Beneath the Remains.
Absolutely.
And, Chaos AD, and even like some of the older records that are maybe more leaning to like the
primal
like
black metal
thrash
stuff
and black metal, death metal type stuff. So I've definitely checked out. So that's like definitely my favorite like era of the band, for sure.
Obviously, you mentioned it. Beneath the Remains comes out 1989, becomes a classic in the death metal and thrash metal world. It's kind of riding the band was always really good about riding that fine line between death and thrash metal. So it was a great entryway point to those that wanted to get into more extreme genres. What's great to note here too is that Max and Igor are just big proponents of extreme music of all forms. Like the guys are just tried and true metalheads from the get-go. Max is still taking younger bands out in the whole nine, and Igor is the same. But you get to Beneath the Remains, and then you get to 1991, which is the release of the Arise album, which is probably my first Sepultura record. I believe I bought it before I bought Roots. So like that's the one that really got me in the songwriting on that one. The track Arise itself, like just being Slayer on steroids to me. Like just the production of it, that Scott Burns production, the artwork, which is I believe is the Dan Seagrave artwork for that one. Has the big eye and the squids and like all that stuff. It's fucking great. But then you get to 1993 and you get the release of Chaos AD, which I think might be one of the best metal albums of the 1990s. There's nothing but like fucking hits on that thing. The band started incorporating more groove elements, started incorporating more industrial elements. Hell, there's punk rock influences in there. A track with Jello Biafra, Biotech is Godzilla that's on there. Territory, the whole fucking nine, like all the hits are on there. Band starts building steam, becomes I believe the album was distributed by Epic Records at this point because Roadrunner Records had a deal with Epic Records, and the album went gold over time. So there's a lot of hype coming off of the Chaos AD release in 1993 to build up to what becomes the band's, I don't want to necessarily say the magnum opus because I have a lot of feelings about that album in particular, which we will talk about at some point. But the band's biggest selling and highest charting record at that point, which was 1996's Roots. And Roots is a very divisive album. You either like it a lot or you don't. It's a new metal record for all intents and purposes, but it has so many more elements to it. Ross Robinson's on for production. Like Jonathan Davis is on the record. I believe Mike Patton is on the record. So you have all of these guest spots. The band, don't know the name of the tribe, but the band went to the deep hearts of Brazil to record a lot of the instrumentation and all of these chants and everything with these tribes, these native tribes, and it's all on there. And the album's got a vibe to it, which all of Ross Robinson's records typically did or do. But this is also the band at its successful peak at this point.
Yeah. I mean, think about, you started in 84, you've established yourself over a 10-year period.
Yeah.
Like, people know who this band is. They broke into America. They're, heroes in their own country. They're playing these like huge festivals in Europe and everywhere. So, to have established yourself at this level, you're on like major labels and, people are buying tickets to come see you. I'm sure it would have been a very drastic change where we're going to. It would have, certainly split a lot of people.
Yep. And as we know, with a lot of bands that get that type of success, that's when you start to deal with different people and different things going on, and people grow. And when you've been touring as hard as some of these bands did in this period of time, like tensions just grow. You're in a van or you're in a bus, still not very much room. But Max ended up getting married to Gloria Cavalera, his then new bride and current to this day wife and manager. She went on to manage Sepultura for a few years, and there were some issues going on between Max and the rest of the guys in the band at this point, which would be Paulo Zisto Jr. Hopefully I pronounced his last name correctly. Andreas Kisser and his brother Igor. There were some issues there with management. The band wanted to separate from Gloria's management, and Max obviously took that and said, well, I'm not leaving my wife, so I'm out. See you guys. We're not really going to get in the dispute with that because two sides to every story. Don't really know what happened. But as we know, Max left the band in 1997 at the height of the band's career, right? Like fucking peak. The next album was going to be like even bigger. It was expected to happen. Max then goes on to form Soulfly, which is signed to Roadrunner Records, continues success down that route.
They just announced a new album as of recording.
Yeah. Single drop today. Still going hard. Max is still fucking going hard. But then you got the rest of the guys in the band. You know, you still have Igor there, so the name is still with them. What are they going to do? They're just going to call it a day. They're going to find a new vocalist, and luckily they found a new vocalist. Enter in Derrick Green. I don't have a lot of background on him. I finally listened to some of the music he was connected with in there, which we'll discuss. But Derrick Green is a Cleveland, Ohio native originally. And again, kind of an interesting choice. You know, it seems to be that there were some tapes that were submitted to the band and some A&R guys from Roadrunner Records, namely Mike Gitter, who has signed tons of bands throughout the years and helped sign them. And Mike's a New York guy.
Go ahead.
Get her.
God.
You brought her.
I was waiting for that. I thought I mispronounced his name.
No. I saw those eyes perked up, and I was like, it's happening. I can't stop him.
God, it's like me with the Neurosis episode. I just like, fuck. God, I love that episode.
Well, I didn't bust it out for Kisser. I wanted to. I stayed quiet
that's a
the
good
whole
one
time.
too. Kisser barely knew her. But Mike Gitter suggested to Derrick that he should send a tape in to the guys in Sepultura because they were looking for a vocalist. And lo and behold, the guys were stoked. They got the tape. Derrick's in the band, and almost immediately kicks into recording the 1998 album Against.
I think a lot of, if not all of it, was already recorded.
Yes.
I think there is also some like Max Cavalera material that was used potentially, or like, I don't know how much. Again, I haven't listened to a lot of this era except for this album, so I really wouldn't know. But just based on the research, it seemed like they were in the process of writing this record.
Right.
So maybe some of that ended up on there. But by the time Derrick got there, I think it was all like fleshed out and potentially like recorded. But yeah, I mean, they essentially go on to record a couple more for Roadrunner.
Mm-hmm. Against a Nation. And those two albums are really similar in a lot of ways. I will say, I think the post-Max era of this band and still being on Roadrunner Records, those albums had like a post-Roots kind of hangover a bit. Like Against has a lot of elements that you would find very similar to on Roots for sure. Nation didn't have as much. Nation's a little bit faster, maybe even a little bit punkier in vibe. But there's still some really cool stuff on there. You know, I think the guys really started to find their own once they left Roadrunner Records, in which the band left Roadrunner Records, I believe in 2002. They weren't too happy with the promotion of 2001's Nation, and they left and joined SPV Records, which I think at that point in time was tied in with Steamhammer Records, and I think it's owned by like Sony BMG now.
Yeah, I think it's like tied in with Napalm now.
That would make sense.
I think
yeah, they're all kind of like, they're all incestuous at this point. And SPV doesn't even exist anymore. I think a lot of those bands were swallowed up into like Napalm Records, as you mentioned, or Nuclear Blast in particular. Because basically Nuclear Blast structure now is essentially most of the people that used to work at Roadrunner Records, like Monty Connor works in Nuclear Blast or Nuclear Blast USA at this point. But the band signs with SPV Records. They released their 2003 album Roarback, which I finally listened to that like the last couple of days, and that's a solid record too. The band had finally started to find its footing, and there's a couple tracks on there that I think were filler and could have been moved around. The band was definitely hitting multiple territories to try things up. But most of that album's really fucking cool. It's definitely a little bit more experimental, and there's just some really cool shit. The band went on to do a covers EP. I remember seeing a video for their cover of U2's Bullet the Blue Sky. And that brings us right up to where we're at and what we're discussing today, which is the Dante 21 album. So Roarback, when I started listening to really heavy music, that was the most current Sepultura record, was Roarback. And, you know, I saw the artwork. The artwork was really prevalent at around that time. There were a lot of tours with that artwork on it. I think Shadows Fall might have even used some of the artwork at the time. There was a tour called the Stress Tour that had that style of artwork on it, and it always stuck out with me. But again, I knew the song Mind War. I think I saw the video for that early on, and during this time frames when I bought Arise and Roots and all of that early YouTube era, and I knew Sepultura was releasing a new record. I knew that I wanted it. I liked Roots. I liked Arise, regardless as to who the vocalist was. Didn't bother me at all. I just wanted to hear more riffs and shit. And I guess when it gets to the writing of Dante 21, it kind of stems from where did the band want to go next and what did they want to do? And Derrick had read The Divine Comedy in like high school, was just really interested in the aspects of religion and the whole nine and literature. And he just kind of went, hey, let's, what can we do? Can we make a soundtrack to this album? Or can we make a soundtrack to this poem? Can we do something with this? Because all the elements in that poem make sense for something heavy or something dark, something morose, anything like that. And it's all prevalent on this fucking record.
Got to read fast. Got to read that thing in 40 minutes.
Less than 40 minutes. But the album is a soundtrack, which I've mentioned, and the 21, which I finally realized just means it's Dante interpreted for the 21st century. That's basically it. And there are elements on this album that obviously include most of the poem, but also include elements of what was going on during this era of the world, and mainly in America, because as we mentioned, Derrick's from Cleveland, Ohio, right? He's a transplant. He was living in, I believe, Brazil at this point. But he brought in a lot of the Bush administration stuff and his anger towards that, his anger towards the Catholic religion and a lot of this. And there's a lot of it there for sure. But just adding all of this stuff to this record and being able to create something that was just fast and aggressive and angry.
Coming up with a theme and a topic, they dive fully into it, and they're like researching the text, they're researching the author, himself. And it seemed like even the artwork was like being created as they were writing the record. And I believe his name is Steven Deutschnoff. I hope, apologies, but they essentially gave him like a lot of liberty Derrick did like a really great video on this. I think that you provided in a link for him during the pandemic. It seemed like while a lot of people were locked in, they were just like recounting stories and like behind, the writing process for a lot of the records. So he actually does cover this at length, and they kind of talk about like how, they kind of just let Stephen run with his own interpretation of the poem itself. And he came up with a lot of like crazy physical paintings that they ended up using for the artwork of the album.
And I love the artwork itself. I think it's very just direct. There's no frills on it. It's essentially Dante and the Sepultura S logo, right? But the art that I'd never seen before, which was some of the stuff that he'd put, is fucking great. It's intense looking artwork, and they let him go for it. It's all actual physical paintings, and I think that's so fucking cool, especially in 2006 when that was the start of like Photoshop and all the photo editing that exists to this day. But knowing that they just let him go for it and said, "Hey, interpret it how you think it should be. Just go for it." Which I thought was pretty fucking cool, because it's like, hey, we know how we're going to interpret it, but let's see your interpretation of it. Just be an artist, right? Just fucking go for it. And it seems like the band was pretty stoked with every piece that they got, and they just decided on this one image, which is Dante in the red cloak, which there are multiple copies of the book. There are multiple photos of Dante himself in this red cloak. I'm sure there's some symbolism there somewhere, but me, smooth brain.
Smooth head for sure.
But along with the methodology behind the artwork, the methodology for the recording process of this was pretty fucking wild too. The band decided to use Stanley Soares to record and produce and mix the album, or record and produce the album. And Stanley had been working with the band for years as like a sound engineer. So basically, the band is recording live at this point. Live amps, drums are live, the whole fucking nine. The drums are recorded without a click, which blew my fucking mind when I heard that, because apparently Igor is like a time clock. It's just boom. And every take is like, hey, yeah, here it is. And the tempo's on and everything, nothing misses.
That same video, they do interview Stanley directly, and he was like concerned. He was like, I don't know how I'm going to like match this up. It's going to be crazy. But it was like every time he did like a few takes, and it was on tempo like every time by what he said. But yeah, like they basically just used the band's backline and everything. And my favorite thing was reading about Derrick's vocal recording, and we've like talked about it on like Converge Records, where, you know, Derrick coming from hardcore, and he's big man, and he's like definitely moving around on stage the whole time. I think he felt like, you know, it's probably very foreign for someone who's like, so like, I need to move around. I need to like, you know, channel the energy I'm feeling out on stage to be kind of stationed in front of a microphone in a studio. So they were able to, I think they had like a PA that was like mixed into a room, and he was able to like basically do that, you know, just kind of like lurch around in a room by himself recording the vocals.
Yeah, it is wild to me too, because the album sounds so live. It really does. It sounds aggressive. Like there's hair on the record. Like everything's peaking a little bit. The vocals sound like just a Shure SM57, just like fucking going for it. And it's like, oh yeah, it's very akin to Trevor recording 3 in the Eyes of Fire. Like those vocals, like set up in a room, just fucking going for it. And it works. It really works. I feel like this band's, some of the albums before this were maybe a little overproduced in a sense. Everything felt kind of sterile. And even some of the albums after, which they sound good, that's not a complaint. It's just, this is such a aggro record, and it's all in-house people. It's like, hey, our buddy's been sound engineering for us for years. Let's just let him do it.
Who knows your sound better than the guy who's been on the road with you for like ever and doing it every night, is road tested. I don't think there was like, it's a pretty straightforward record, although obviously there's like some kind of like atmospheric overdubs and like the orchestral kind of classical instrumentation, which again, like I think those sound amazing, and we can talk about it a little bit more at length when we get into the review. I just think like this is a person who clearly understands what like a live setting is supposed to sound like, because those like you get all of the like rich dynamics of like classical instruments on there. Like this guy has clearly sat in a hall or something and like mixed those types of instruments before. To me, that's the interpretation I got from it, because it could, like you said, a lot of records that can easily be overproduced. You throw in classical instrumentation, that could just like, all right, there's just too much going on here. It at no point does it ever sound like it's, you know, too much or too little or whatever. It's all mixed in there very clearly.
You can hear, the more you listen, obviously the more you hear, but you can hear so much at one time. It doesn't just sound like, oh shit, there's a flute buried or something. There's a cello, there's timpanis buried or something. You can hear everything. You know what it is when you hear it too. You're like, fuck, this is all right there. And there's a little bit of mic bleed on a couple things. It's just fucking cool. And he did a good job. I think this is a really nuanced recording, and he did a really good job with it. Orchestrals, live sounding. Let's get into the fucking songs of this thing.
It's cool. I mean, it quickly sets the pace or the atmosphere, the textures of the record, like right out of the gate, like with those like reversed kind of like vocal tapes, like, and then we like Dark Wood of Error like gets right into it. So I mean, there's a lot of different riffs on here, like I'm sure we'll like cover, because there's like I get like a sense of the classic, more like thrashy death metal Sepultura sound. I definitely get some more new metal-esque stuff that you might have heard on Roots, or maybe even some other bands of that era. One song in particular we could talk about, but yeah, it's kind of got everything, really.
I think it's funny that you said Dark Wood of Error gets into it, because I thought when I listened to it that like half the song was an intro for the other half of the song. Like the first song is an intro, and then Dark Wood of Error, half of that is an intro.
It is just kind of building the whole time. Yes.
Yeah. I thought that was funny.
You're right. It built, like I tacked it today. I went, oh, it builds up for a little bit, and my brain didn't rationalize that it builds up for a minute and a half of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's like, oh yeah, that huge like kind of Andreas right hand thing that he does, that just those fucking just locked in, just fucking tremolo picking, and like Igor's just fucking going for it under there. His right hand is fucking great. I will say, I think he added a lot of prestige and like technical ability to this band that he's taken and moved for, especially being the lone guitarist at this point in time. And just, it's a full thrash assault. It's very Angel of Death-esque with a lot of the syncopation in there. And Derrick sounds like a hardcore frontman. Just fucking going for it.
Derrick has like these, I was having never listened to him before. And, I know he's like a Cleveland guy and, spent some time in like the New York hardcore scene, even getting connected with like Walter from like Youth of Today, Gorilla Biscuits, Quicksand. I think one of those bands was like on his like imprint label. It's great. Like he could definitely, I hear like similarities to like Phil and like Tom Araya, like definitely some of his like Cleveland contemporaries, like Dwid and fucking Human Furnace. Like I don't know if there's like a lot of variation, I will say, but he does what he does very, very well. Yeah. And like you said, he enunciates. You can hear everything he's saying very, very clearly. And which is very impressive. Like, again, if we go back to like Dark Wood of Error, like the speed at which that song, when it does finally kick in, like enunciating at the cadence and like, yes, very impressive.
I was going to say his singing voice reminds me a lot of Anselmo's singing voice. That was, especially there were like a few songs in the middle of the record. I was like, oh, this sounds like exactly like Phil to me.
There are points on this record too where like we talk about the variation where Derrick does these really great things with his voice and his vocals, and I do believe that the reverse vocals on Lost are him. I do believe, because there's a point at the end of Fighting On which he's got these like layered kind of clean spoken and whispered voices that very much sounds like voices in your head kind of speaking to you, and it's just really creepy and adds a vibe to it. And like what he does really, really well. And he knows, he treats his voice like an instrument. He treats it as the fourth instrument of the band, which I think is fucking cool because he does fit the sound of the band really well, especially in this era of the band too. And even moving forward, he fits it really well. And when you've got guys like, you know, seasoned veterans like Andreas Kisser, who is, I think, underrated when it comes to a lot of like metal guitar sound and metal guitar playing. Like his wah sound is a signature to me. Anytime I hear him play any sort of wah effect, I'm like, oh, that's Andreas. Roadrunner put together this compilation in like 2005 called the Roadrunner All-Star Sessions that had all, we've talked about it in the past, like have had all these different members on it. And there's one point where Dino Cazares is putting a track together that he wrote. And he's like, oh, I want Andreas to come in and do his wah thing on this track. And sure enough, boom, it's just fucking there.
Yeah, there's some good like wah heavy solos. There's some phaser in parts. I remember. Yeah, it's great variation. I mean, obviously he does the metal thing very well, but then like maybe with more of that hardcore influence. I mean, there's like some 2-step parts or some fucking heavy ass breakdowns and stuff with the some of the orchestral arrangements, which it's like, okay, there's definitely some death metal, there's definitely some hardcore, and then like maybe some Tom G. Warrior Celtic Frost for good measure. Because I just heard,
Yes,
to
100%.
Megatherion with like some of that, like that's what they did. I feel like they took what that record did so well, and then all right, let's adjust this for Dante almost, and yeah, it's very epic sounding and haunting, and then they even put in some of the, aside from those overdubs, then there's almost even like those I feel like it's probably like a keyboard with some of those like choir effects on that. Good stuff. Good stuff.
Like the beginning of False.
Yeah.
There's Andreas' guitar sound and his tone of playing has dissonance to it. There's a lot of dissonance on this record. It's very fitting, but it's subtle. It's not just like panic chords or anything, just that. It's like, it's very like in passing chords and anything like that adds a texture. Thick guitar sound as well. There's some tracks on here. I'm glad you mentioned Mr. Warrior, because there's definitely some Celtic Frost like guitar sounds on here. Tracks like City of Dis, False, Fighting On, which to me is just like a dirge track. It's just a fucking doom track. But a lot of these songs are 2 parts. They're two riffs or a variation on one riff, which I think is cool. It fits in the scope of this record where like some bands can take that and kind of abuse it, because there's not a lot of variance in song structure here. They're pretty straightforward songs. And there are some elements that'll creep in from time to time, like a weird kind of mournful violin break in one of the tracks, or Andreas is adding these cool octave runs that are harmonized, and nothing is pushing the boundaries too much to make it feel like, oh, they're entering into prog rock territory here, because Andreas himself is a fan of like progressive bands, and everything's locked in with this ultimate just nasty guitar tone from Andreas.
I like that Ostia song.
Yeah, why do you like that?
That was the chorus riff for that song sounds like the fucking Deftones song.
It does. Yeah.
Yep. Sure does. Yep.
Yeah.
Which
100%.
Happy accident for sure.
Yeah.
But I will say the more like repetitive, like I mean, there's very Celtic Frost in the beginning of that song.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's very driving, just kind of like very primal sounding, and then it kicks into that. I'm like, oh hey, Chino, what up, baby?
That's like that riff is the motif from the violin song or cello song before.
Yes.
It. Yeah.
Right.
Yep. From Limbo. Yep. Absolutely.
This is a great record, and I feel like we kind of like we're getting one track to the other. They're not like terribly long. I love the sounds of this record. Sometimes there was at one point where I thought 2 songs were one. Like it just kind of kicked in. I want to say it's Buried Words into Nuclear 7. I thought those tracks were like combined. So not necessarily a gripe. I was just like, oh, okay. Like it sounds similar enough throughout that like maybe at times it like just feeds into each other very well. So love the guitars on this record. There's like industrial sounding stuff that's really cool. There's like some droning elements that you mentioned, I think, with
100%
dooming sound. I think especially I think it's like City of Dis. I think it's like a really like droning kind of pretty like straightforward, like 2 or 3 notes, and it might just change in speed or like alternate picking or something like that. But essentially it's like the same 2-3 notes.
I thought Buried Words was another drony riff. I felt like the verse riff was like there was like a drone string and he was doing the riff, but then the chorus was just like chord version of the verse riff. So a lot of it was just like a lot of the song was the same note.
Yeah, and that one's cool too. It even experiments with like fucking noise in the beginning of it as well.
Yeah, the
like,
input jack kind of thing.
Why not?
I got Motorhead vibes on that track a lot with that droning kind of note thing. That's very kind of like Motorhead blues rock, kind of droning on the E, but using all the passing notes on different strings. You know, with you got these punk stuff on here. You've got all the experimentation and sound. A lot of the songs have this kind of everything's got this anthemic kind of vibe to it, right? It flows like a soundtrack where you have motifs from an intro track going into the track itself and playing off of it. You know, I look at a track like Fighting On, which might be one of my favorite tracks on the record. You've got this arpeggiated intro to that, which kind of sounds like I heard in utero era, like Kurt Cobain, kind of arpeggiating, a little noisy. The volume's rolled off on it a little bit and it just builds into it. There's like some Tool kind of grooves on there, but you got a big fat Morbid Angel riff in center of that thing. That's like, oh, okay, bring it on. You know, guitars are great. Andreas is underrated. Andreas got to play. Austin will know this. Andreas got to fill in Anthrax for the Big Four show, which says a lot. Like anytime I've heard people talk about the Big Four, you obviously talk about, you know, what other bands could go in there. I remember Kerry King being interviewed about it. He's like, yeah, don't forget about Sepultura. Like you got to put them in there. They're up there, which is wild because this little band from Brazil is being talked about by all these kind of like hard rock luminaries, right? But talk about this little band from Brazil, guitar playing, fucking drums on this record.
Yeah, that's my favorite part.
Dude, I have so much to say about it. I think the kicks get buried sometimes. That's the one thing. There's certain points where it's a little clicky, but it's live, right? Like, fuck, what are you going to do when you've got that much volume coming out from time to time? There are drum fills on this record that have been stuck in my head for 20 fucking years. I mean, look, I think it's the song. Let me find it real quick. Well, I mean, I'll just start out with this, like the drum intro for Convicted in Life, which is the first single from the record, which is a great fucking song that the band
video.
Still plays.
Awesome video. Too.
Killer video.
Yeah.
Killer video. Strikes a chord too with that video. It got banned from like MTV and MTV2 for the imagery they were using in it. The story about that Derrick discusses is pretty fucking wild too. It's a 2-riff song, but like Igor is killing it all over that track with this great intro and just off time fills and the snares off center. Like, dude, I fucking
about that
love
snare
it.
tone. Like you can really hear the ping of that thing on the record.
Dude, there's a break in one of the tracks that I thought was a piccolo snare at first. I'm like, no, he's just hitting it really fucking hard.
Dude, speaking of breaks, there's a lot to love about it and we can talk more about it, but my favorite part, like drum part that he does, it's on Repeating the Horror, where it's the vocal and drum break that they do together. Crazy. That shit's awesome. That part, hell yeah.
That end, that the layered kind of solo as it ends, and it just it's like an Iommi solo. It just blends. It is wild to think like this is Igor's last record with the band because he's fucking playing his ass off. You know, he's not phoning it in.
No, which is cool. I mean, like, yeah, we'll talk about it in a little bit.
Right.
You know, where maybe he missed playing with his brother, perhaps wanted to try other forms of music, but yeah, he like gives his all on this performance. I mean, there's some like really creative, unique, stuff with cymbal play and just, yeah, the fills are fucking amazing. And the double bass, accenting some of the guitar parts. So, a killer performance. Like if, obviously there's a Riff show, but definitely listen to this record with some of those drum parts in mind for sure.
I will say the one gripe I have about this record being a bass player is Paulo's not really prevalent on much of the record at all. He's pretty well buried, except for one song in particular, and it's on the back half of the record. And the bass is pretty well like right out the gate. And it's Nuclear 7. Like he's right out the gate. You can hear him. It's clean, but he's picking fucking hard. He's loud. He's hard. He's just kind of buried in the mix. It is what it is. It does feel a bit like a live performance, and it's fine. Like when you can hear him, you feel him as well. Like Paulo locks in really well with Igor all throughout the record. There's some playing around with rhythmic feels where like Igor will change a feel up with the kicks, and then like Paulo's locking in with that and sliding out to let the drums or the guitars kind of fill some space or let the vocals kick in. He's holding it together. It's a 4-piece band at this point. Everything's locked in. And on an album like this, sometimes it's just, what's the job that I need to do? I'm going to fucking do it. And he's really the only long lasting member of this band. It's just him. Like, he's been in the band since 1984, 1985.
Yeah. Yeah. He like basically like a childhood friend of the Cavaleras, and like didn't even fucking know how to play bass when they asked him. And I don't think he's been a longstanding member. I didn't realize that he hadn't actually played on a record till like much later. Like, he may have like had a song or two based on some of the stuff I saw in Metal Archives, but for the most part, I think his like first like actual album he plays on is Chaos AD. So,
and he's loud on that record too. Like, they pushed him in the mix really hard on that record. Everybody in the band, fantastic job. The orchestrations and the instrumentation on this record is kind of this whole other texture. There are points on this record that sound like the Apostasy from Behemoth to me, with all the horns, the intro tracks to each different section of the poem adds an intensity to it. Like, you look at Ino, I think is how it's pronounced. We're gonna call it. It's right before Crown and Mitre, and the jarring fucking strings on that, because that track after that just kicks the fuck in. As Swindle mentioned before, Ostia using Limbo and using the motif from Limbo in there, and just everything plays so well with it. Everything is recorded so well. Everything's written with everything else in consideration, but it doesn't feel like there's wank on this record. It doesn't feel like, hey, this part's just here to be here. There's some violins on the record. There are synths, but probably very little. There's piano. There's timpani drums. And I think it's Premium Mobile has just pounding fucking timpanis right before Still Flame, which is considered an instrumental track, even though it's not.
I was kind of surprised by that because, you have like some kind of chanting, and then Derrick's on it. So I was kind of confused by that. A couple of places listed it, but very cinematic track. Very like, I would definitely
like credits.
Could have heard that in a like epic kind of I don't know, like action movie, or like some sort of like big grandiose blockbuster, like Christopher Nolan type thing, maybe. I don't know.
Oh, you don't mean who's it who did all the Transformer movies? Michael Bay, Michael Blowshit.
I heard at the end of Bad Boys 2, old Hank Rollins coming out to that song. Anyway,
it does. I mean, the whole album feels like, you can just run it down and like
it's
sit
earned.
with the. Like it feels like a soundtrack, and I've been listening to a lot of like soundtracks and stuff lately, and it's like, oh shit, it feels, the motifs are there. There's stuff that's referenced from the beginning, and the lyrical concepts of it just all fit. And it just feels like one really good solid piece, right? You mentioned at the top of the episode where it doesn't necessarily feel like anything should be omitted. Like, I could make statements like the bass could be a little louder, or maybe like the drums shouldn't be peaked, but it's like, that's all silly,
there wasn't like anything I hated. So like I kept thinking like, I think when we do a lot of these, it's like, okay, when I listen to a record, I listen to a song, I'm like, does this need to be here? Does this need to be? And there wasn't really like a song that I felt like shouldn't. Like it's all fits pretty uniform. Like it's fucking 38 minutes. But I don't know. Nothing felt like forced or like foreign or just, it was all pretty cohesive. I think it's sequenced really well. I have no complaints about anything on this record, really.
I feel like the back half goes fast. Knowing how long the record was when I was listening to it, like watching the clock, I was like, shit, there's like 6 songs left, and I know there's only like 10 minutes left on this album. How are we getting through 6 songs in the last 10 minutes?
And you're right, it does. I will say the first section, like the hell section, is a lot more elongated than the rest of the record. And the back half, the B side of this record just booms quick, but did it need to be a little bit longer kind of thing? Like, does it? Could it? It could have been very well. You probably could have added one more track and pushed it like 42 minutes or something, and it probably would have stretched it out a little bit, but it does feel like the back third of the record just blows by. I definitely noticed that on the last couple listens too. It's like, shit, I've got 3 more tracks and there's 4 minutes left. What are we doing? What's going on here? But again, it's like all of the other bands' albums are pretty long. And this is the shortest record that I've came in contact with from the band. And there's little to no fat on it. We're sitting at probably like 8 to 10% body fat on this one. It's pretty fucking lean, vascular even. And it's a wild fucking record. And it's a good end point for the Cavalera family in this band. And there's some dispute going on as to maybe why Igor left the band, how he left the band, what caused it. It seems that Igor had a couple things going on in his life at the time, a newborn son going on, maybe some other interpersonal things that he had going on at this point in time. Maybe he wasn't able to, from the band's perspective, maybe give his all to the band at this point in time. Maybe he wasn't quite there and quite present mentally the entire time. It does seem though that anytime it was brought up of like, hey, when we were in the studio or when we were writing, he was there fully. And he wanted to take a break from the band. He decided like prior to the album's release to say, hey, I'm going to take a break right before the album's released. And we're going to get a fill in. And they got Roy Mayorga, who had played in Nausea, who I just recently listened to for the first time.
He played in a lot of bands.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, Nausea, like definitely like kind of crusty New York shit. And that's like how Derrick gets connected. But I mean, he's played with everybody from Soulfly.
On the
Ozzy,
most successful Soulfly records.
Hell yeah, Ministry, Stone Sour. And now he's in Kylesa. He's in the kind of revamped Kylesa.
Yeah. So you mentioned the Kylesa tie-in. Like the reason they got him was from Nausea. Yeah. They're like, oh shit. Yeah, absolutely. We're going to bring him on. It's Roy. Or it's Ray.
Roy.
It is Roy.
Let me check. Is it Roy?
Roy.
that's my Uncle Ray Roy.
That's my It is Roy.
Do they still have 2 drummers in the new version of Kylesa?
No.
No? Okay.
No, they don't.
That wasn't a joke. That was a real question.
No. I know it wasn't. No, they don't. Did they when we saw them?
Yeah.
They did. Did they have both drums? Fuck, I couldn't even remember that. The thing I remember most from that show.
Dude, what do you mean? They got 2. They got
band.
Ray Roy. They got Ray and Ray.
They got Ray Roy. Poor bastard's got split personality disorder. Just swaps from kit to kit.
Was Jack and Dino? Jack and
Dino. Yeah.
But he was a good fit. There's somebody they knew.
Yeah. Which
trying
one?
to get it, as he said, as he tried to steer this back on track. They knew him. At least one of them did. The tour went well. It was a European tour with In Flames, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So you had like an extended period of time where, Igor's like just taking a break from the band. And then when they ultimately did return from Europe, he was just like, I'm done. I'm going to leave. And it seems like maybe it's a couple different things. Like, I'm sure it was very hard for both Max and Igor, like Igor still playing in the band, Max doing his own thing at Soulfly. It seemed like maybe they were like talking, but one of the interviews I read was like they like kept band shit like out of their conversation. They did not talk about it at all. But it seemed like Igor had wanted to play with his brother like in that time, missed playing with his brother in music. Maybe even wanted to try other things. Like I know he's like a big into like kind of ambient and electronic music. Like you can see him like on a ton of like session videos and pedal videos, especially for Earthquaker, just dabbling with all sorts of different sounds and different technology with that. But yeah, so he essentially wants to leave the band, and a year later, they start the fucking Cavalera conspiracy. So that kind of reforms. That relationship is back to, what it was in 1984.
It is interesting to know that Max leaves in 96, 97. Igor leaves in 06. 10 years. I'm sure, as you said, that took a fucking toll on him because they grew up together. They learned to play together. They quit school together. The whole nine. They did all of these things together. They created a successful band from the ground up, from meager beginnings, right? From the most like poor you could ever fucking be from these guys. And they created it from the ground up, and then they essentially didn't talk for 10 years. And Igor leaving this band, having different experiences in life at this point, helps reform this relationship he has with his brother that he still plays with today. They've gone on, they've re-recorded some of the early output from Sepultura. They've done the Cavalera Conspiracy records. I think he's even gone on to do like side projects with his band or with his brother and all sorts of shit. Like I think Igor's even done some remixes for Full of Hell, I believe.
Oh,
I think there's some tie-ins there.
I mean, they went on tour with the Cavaleras at one point, and I know that Dave, the drummer Full of Hell, was even on stage. I think it was like it may have been when they were doing the Roots era stuff, that tour. Because I would want to say that like they had a couple of those drummers on that tour come out and just like whack a few things or whatever.
Thing.
Yeah.
Yep. But the band, Sepultura, keeps moving forward, right? 2009, the band releases Alex through SPV Records. And it is a concept album based off of A Clockwork Orange. I actually got a chance to listen to that one for the first time today. It's good. It's fun. It's a little more meandering maybe than this one. It feels like more of like a film score with multiple shorter sections in it. It's a longer album. It's still cool. Like the band kind of does soundtrack stuff pretty well. Like when they have a really good concept behind it, they just go for it. There's some aggro shit on there. The band has continued to release records throughout the years. I believe the band's most recent full-length album is Quadra. There's an album after that it's a little bit different. It's more instrumental stuff. But the band's last full-length album is Quadra, which came out in 2020. And if you get a chance to listen to that is arguably one of the band's best records. I finally listened to it too. It's like, shit, how did I push this thing off? The thing I've noticed with the Derrick era is that there's an album like this that to me is like front to back great. Their album, and some of their other albums that have really good songs, and then, there's some tracks on there that don't quite hit it for me, but there's still some really good shit on those records. And the band has even recently in the last year and a half, like been on their last tour with what a lot of bands are doing. The band is 40 years old as of last year, and they're on their final tour. This is it. There's no more recordings, nothing that we know of.
I mean, they still got a few festival dates I saw listed for like next year. So it's going to be, they're drawing it out for sure. They're probably going to try to hit every like nook and cranny in the globe.
I think the legacy is with Sepultura is obviously always going to be overshadowed by those first four records. Those are classic records, all four of them. No ifs, ands, or buts. Sorry, not the first four records, but the Roadrunner Records collection is always going to be the classic collection. Always will be. But give the Derrick Green era a chance. There's so much good shit in there. Definitely pick and choose the ones you want. You get different eras. You get stuff that's more thrash, more death metal, more punk oriented, more even stuff that's a little bit more new metal oriented. But man, the band's still putting out good shit. They really did. They've had a litany of fantastic drummers as well. Most recently being Eloy, who went on to play, who is now the current drummer of Slipknot. Once the band ended, like there's great videos of that dude just like blasting through these fucking songs like they're nothing. And just hitting as hard as he possibly can. I think he plays with the drums reversed, or the drumsticks reversed even. Like, it's fucking wild. The dude's a good drummer. This band's always known for its drums. But ultimately, I think Sepultura should be appreciated for the two different eras. I think the Max Cavalera era is what it is, and I think the Derrick Green era is just as fucking good. I think there is ultimately good shit all throughout there. Don't knock it. Derrick's a good vocalist and has been a pretty good like PR person for the band throughout the years too. I haven't seen a lot of mudslinging from him at all, which could be very easy with the stuff they dealt with Roadrunner Records and stuff from the Soulfly camp and from former members and so on and so forth. And I think just give these records a chance. Dante 21 is a fantastic record. Probably my favorite Derrick record as well. And even if it gets you into reading Dante's Divine Comedy, it's just a great extreme metal record.
All right, we've reached that point of the episode where we like to share some recommendations, some things we've been listening to. I got 2 this week. First one, Radioactive Dreams. It is a first single from a forthcoming collaboration between Chatpile and Hayden Pedigo. The album is going to be titled In the Earth Again. It's going to be released through, I think it's like a sort of fairly new label. It's Computer Students. It's going to be released on Halloween, October 31st. There's a lot of records going to be dropping this year on Halloween too. But I've recommended Hayden Pedigo a few times on this show already. I think he's like one of my favorite guitar players at this point, just because, or more so recently, like really cool kind of like ambient lo-fi folk country. It's all finger pick guitar. The sort of like arrangement that he's able to come up with are super cool, and I'll turn those records on just to get relaxed. He put out an album this past June called I'll Be Waving As You Drive Away, but they had been teasing this collaboration for a while. I think it was supposed to initially be a split, but then it just kind of combining both worlds of, Hayden Pedigo and like the craziness like that is Chatpile. So I
don't think you'll be relaxing very much.
No, but I am looking forward to it. I think this is a great first single. It has a video as well that you can watch now. It's directed by Riley Stearns, who's kind of had his toe in the metal world a little bit with different bands. But a great introduction track. I think it's going to be like the record of the fall. Like I'm really, really looking forward to it. On the complete other side of the spectrum, this was like a random find yesterday.
Oh yeah.
This is a band that apparently has been around for a few years, but Bone Fetish. This is a new like compilation that kind of combines like several demos across like 4 or 5 years into one package. It's going to be released on Sentient Ruin Laboratories. But this is like a one-man project. It's multi-instrumentalist. He does it all. He's based in Canada. And it's basically just like disgusting, like gore grind and death metal. It's like 25 tracks in 17 minutes. I think maybe also features some new unreleased stuff. But if you like some of that like really filthy, disgusting, like early Carcass records and Pedigo and all that sorts of stuff, this is fun. It was cool. I think even Will Killingsworth handled like all of the remastering for this release as well. Yeah, I don't know. It's exactly what you'd expect, but I had a lot of fun listening to it. You are instantly drawn in by the fucking cover, as one might be. But it's brutal. It's something.
You sent us that artwork, and I look at that, and I just went county medical examiners. Like as soon as I saw, I was like, that thing has to sound like it smells. Yeah, like it's slimy. It's like the Tar Man in oh god, it's not Night of the Living Dead. It's the one with the punk rockers.
Oh, you're talking about
Return.
Yeah, it's like the Tar Man in Return of the Living Dead. It's just like hideous and gross. It's all that, and
like the Melting Man or whatever that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the visuals we're saying. You're definitely gonna feel it as you listen to this. So check it out. I think this person's taking a break from this project, so this is kind of like at least a holdover for maybe some of the other stuff he's doing or whenever this project returns. But yeah, those are my 2. So check them out.
My recommendation is the album Gucked Up by the band Guck. Was put out it was released on the day of recording, August 29th. Features our dear good friend Chappie Hull, who definitely knows who I am every time that I see him. I've never once had to remind him who I am. It's weird. It's a weird album. Judging by the name of the band, I thought it was going to be a lot more straightforward, like punk, than it is. It's a fucking strange, weird album. But I always like Chappie's guitar playing. Pretty much like anything he's been in, I've really enjoyed. I think it's good.
Yeah, I definitely want to check. That name just makes me want to check it out alone. It really does. Like you sent that, I was like, oh, I gotta see what this is, because it makes me think of the. I'm sure this sounds nothing like the band I'm about to mention, but it makes me think of it. The band Pile, like that name alone makes me want to check out like their new release.
Well, Chappie.
Chappie was in Pile for a little bit.
Okay, did we have that conversation recently?
Uh-huh.
Okay, all right. Horse brain.
Is that what you do? Is that you deal in horse brains?
We just swap. It's like that. It's like that Treehouse of Horror episode where Mr. Burns switches Homer's brain out. I just do it with horses. Nay, you just see a bunch of old people where I work just like walking around clopping their feet. Anyway, on the subject of bands that are influenced by literature or bands that draw from literature, I have been looking forward to this release for quite some time. I discovered this band, One of Nine, from listening to an episode of the Garza podcast with Bleeding Through. One of their current guitar players mentioned this band, One of Nine, that is influenced by the writings of J.R.R. Tolkien. And I went, that's fitting, because Tolkien has been influencing heavy bands since essentially the dawn of heavy metal, right? Even before that with Led Zeppelin and so on and so forth. And I went, this is really fitting. There's no way it's not. And like the band has artwork with like Nazguls on it and all sorts of shit, but they dropped their debut single for their upcoming album, Dawn of the Iron Shadow, called Dreadful Leap. And it is fucking great. It's got all the elements of like dungeon synth that I like. It's got the elements of this grandiose kind of black metal that I like, all within the world of Lord of the Rings. And it's, yep. Yeah, trust me. I go down in my hole and I listen to my dungeon synth and I'm DO'd up. Unlike the rest of you slobs. But I am so stoked for this album. The artwork is intense as shit. Holder is guesting on the record as well.
Yeah,
the
I think I think I read it as the Tear Maiden or something like that.
Yeah.
So
it's going to be fucking great. The album is called, as I mentioned, it's called Dawn of the Iron Shadow. It'll be released through Profound Lore Records on fucking Halloween.
Told you.
Which is so fitting. I pre-ordered it the minute I saw it. I went, fuck. I was like, I just pulled into a parking spot at work and went, I have to get this now. Like, nothing's going to stop me from doing this. So check that out when it comes out. Second recommendation, I obviously was not able to make the last episode, so I would have done this in the last one. Big deal for me. In the passing of Brent Hines, I think everybody that knows me knows my connection to the band Mastodon. I am recommending their most recent release from 2021, Hushed and Grim. It is a double album, so you please listen to it in two separate parts. But it was released through Reprise Records. It's got tracks such as Pushing the Tides, Tear Drinker, More Than I Could Chew. If you're not familiar with that band, what are you doing? Like, please go back and listen to it. Go back and listen to our Leviathan episode to know like how freaky this band is and how important this band is to what is modern heavy metal music. There's definitely something in the pipe coming from us on this band again, but R.I.P. Brent Hines. Great record, great band, fantastic guitar player.
Listen to it, check it out. You can check us out at Riff Worship Pod on Instagram, Twitter. You can also email us at riffworshippod@gmail.com. We have plenty of things to listen to in our official playlists. Spotify, Riffs on Repeat. It is now also on YouTube Music. There's a really nice guy from Australia who reached out to me and said, hey, I've made the jump to YouTube Music. I was keeping up to date with a lot of the stuff on Riffs on Repeat and Hits from the Crypt on Apple Music, but can you do something on YouTube Music? So that is officially there. You can literally go to our YouTube page, find it exactly in the playlist section where all these episodes are. We update it frequently, so that's there for you to check out. We've got some guests coming up. I don't know if we'll have one next week, but we do have some guests in the works. Some people that you will really enjoy. Some records that you're going to really enjoy. I finally get to do it. It's going to be great. This has been our episode on Sepultura. I'm Austin. That's Dylan. That's also Swindle. And you've been listening to our show, Riff Worship. We'll be back next week with something else. See ya.